the last progressive on Earth. She's been hiding, but we found her.
Oh.
She was in Saddam Hussein's cave, presumably. And we've dug her up, and she's come out to join Konstantin Kisin and Matthew Goodwin and Aaron Bastani here.
My favourite right-winger.
Indeed, to have a chat about, is immigration good for Britain? Now, this was a debate that's set up in London, and of course, we're pretty familiar, I would imagine, with Konstantin Kisin and Matt Goodwin's positions. Yep. They're pretty standard stock, so I didn't want to... It would have been nice to sit here and be like, yeah, that's a great point, but
we all talk about them all day, every day, and we agree with everything they're saying.
So I didn't want to waste my time with that, although I will say Konstantin has uploaded his 7 minutes of pure flax and logic to his channel, because of course he has, in which, the thing I love about Konstantin is the bluntness with his points. So he mentions, for example, that the number of illegals in this country is not considered shocking now, but the number of illegals coming to this country each year was the number of legals when he came to the country.
Yeah.
That's how much things have changed. They're arguing about, oh man, you need foreigners to do blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, if I have the option of hiring cheap foreigners or raising the wage of the British workers, which one am I going to go for? So it's just boring. Like the nonsensical mustard gas that is leftist thinking, he just cuts through. But it's not for him today. Matthew Goodwin, can you guess what he did? He just pulled up graphs.
Sensible points?
Well, no, he mostly just pulled up graphs in speech form.
Right.
He's just making the point, for example, is this one. The position of lowering immigration is about as centrist as you could get.
Sorry for the interruption. I'm Father Calvin Robinson, and you can watch my Common Sense Crusade at 3 p.m. on Thursdays only on lotuseaters.com, where you can sign up for as little as £5 per month. Deus Vult.
The only places on this graph of Britain where it's not a popular opinion are like the most densely urban areas of the country.
Sorry, is that Swindon that is a dark red?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember my geography.
Just a little bit to the left.
Might be.
Left?
Down there. That's Bristol.
No, Bristol's on the coast, isn't it? Oh.
No. What? Whatever.
Bristol's not on the coast, is it? It's not quite, is it?
Bristol's, isn't it?
Further in.
British education at its finest.
Southwest for a long time.
Local man doesn't know where he is. All right, moving on.
Apparently not.
We shall move instead to the speech. I mean, I don't know where I am either, so there we are. This is the lady on there. This is the last progressive, because Konstantin and Matthew, they're doing the traditional thing. And then Aaron Bastani has recently started to think about his child's future, so he's become a right-winger, which is rather weird to look at.
It is.
At least on these issues. This lady, Polly. Now, Polly is still living in the Blairite progressive world. So I thought we'd just listen to some of her speeches, because it's interesting to see what is the genuine opinion of these people at this point.
Bristol's not on the coast.
It's
Indeed.
Close. It's on an estuary.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was on the coast, yeah. Sorry, right, Karen.
Education.
My geographic knowledge is super, thank you.
Let's have a listen to this, shall we? No, we shan't, because it's not bloody working. Right, I shall refresh, and then we'll be able to listen to it, hopefully. If the Lotus Eaters internet will hold out.
Experiment. I mean, you only have to imagine what would happen if we expelled everybody who wasn't born in Britain. I mean, the NHS, social care, schools, universities, council services, cleaning, catering, caring, nurseries, trains, buses, agriculture, deliveries, taxis, IT systems. We certainly wouldn't be going to build new towns and a huge increase in housing, because if we didn't have those skilled construction workers that we failed to train at home. Only 14% of the population are migrants, people not born here, but that's quite enough to collapse all of society. That 40% really does keep us all going. Nothing would work in the private or in the public sector. But the vast majority of that very large number of migrants are here because we want them, because our elected government has given well over 600,000 of them visas in the last year, because we have important work for them to do. Students, for instance, a large number of that total sum are students who sustain our universities, which couldn't do without them. So what's the reason for all of this immigration? It's our own failing as a society. If we wanted to stop it, we have to stop needing others to do all this work for us. And how would we do that? By paying good enough rates for this work to attract British people to do these jobs, pay decent social care pay, rewards, pays decent wages with a decent career structure, and that's expensive. It would cost us. We would have to pay for that. Migrants are cheaper because we do need those people because we failed to invest enough in our own. Thank you very much.
Where do
Well, I
you
just
start
thought-
with that?
How can anyone believe what she believes?
'Cause this is the thing. I've taken this because this is a steelman of the final defense of mass immigration. She's the only person representative of that era of British politics. She used to be a columnist all throughout the Tony Blair era, Gordon Brown, David Cameron, and still is now basically a jittering old woman. And she now believes that buses can't function unless we have migrants.
The internet.
The internet will be turned off. This universities will collapse.
Houses will just pancake.
Yeah.
Well, there's a number of issues here. One of the issues is this, that you talk about the Blairite society as though it's in the past. We've had a Blairite government since 1997.
Yeah.
We've just changed the colour of the door. That's all that's happened. Secondly, she said, what would happen if we expelled everybody who wasn't born in Britain? I don't know of anybody that suggested that.
No, but I'm glad that's on the table, Polly.
I'm really not sure that anybody's advocating for that,
No.
are they? Not,
In case you're
in all
wondering,
seriousness.
the question of the order was is immigration good for Britain? And she just went with expel them all.
Yeah. So,
No one else brought it
that
up.
is the position.
Yeah.
I mean, the sensible position. I'm Mr. Normal on this. I think we've had this debate before. Actually,
Yeah.
I think some immigration is good, and I think it's down to the government to set what is a good level of immigration based on the democratic will of the people, give or take, and then enforce the bloody thing. That seems to me to be it. Why can't we do that? Why is that wrong? And of course, that is not rounding up everybody who wasn't born in Britain and putting them on a plane to Rwanda or whatever, is it? It's not that. This is a.
But if you
this
insist,
is a straw man. This is a straw
It's not
man.
even a straw man.
argument.
It's way outside of what anyone's talking about. Like, 'cause I mean, like, I guess I'm a lot more hardline on immigration. So I'm just like, right, we've had 25 years of unfettered immigration because of the Blairite order.
Yeah.
That means we've taken in about 15 million new people who are now here. It might actually be reasonable to look at the state of the country after doing that and then assess whether we need any more people. Because it seems to me that the services are failing, the house prices are through the roof, wages are all depressed because of the number of people who have come in. And so what we should just do is just simply end the inflow.
You're correct.
Just end the inflow
I agree.
until the problem sort of starts sorting itself out. Because there is an outflow as well. So if we can sort of normalize the levels of people who actually want to be here rather than people who are just taking advantage, then this is a problem that will, in a few years, have solved itself. And we don't have to actually, as Polly recommends, round up every foreigner and deport them.
Yeah.
You know, we actually don't have to do that.
As though that's the position. The other thing that she says, which I agree on, that if we put a cap on foreign students, then a lot of the universities would collapse. Now that would be a very good thing.
Yes.
That would be an excellent thing. In a previous life, I taught at university. I was a lecturer at university, and on one of the courses, I remember I was teaching research methodology, level 6 research methodologies. People who were about to write their dissertations, their thesis, etc. And I was teaching it to a cohort of Chinese students who didn't understand English. They had wonderful names that they'd adopted, like postbox and jewelry, because they imagined that these were typically British names.
Yeah, British words.
The British words. And I was expected to teach them research methodology. It was utterly impossible. So what we ended up doing was spoon feeding them everything.
Right.
Decreasing the pass mark to a negligible extent. And the reason for that was without the students, you wouldn't be getting the funding, and the university, the college, the school would collapse or shrink. Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. I tell you what, I have never felt so much as a fraud as I did teaching those courses,
Oh, I bet.
because those people should not have been there. The organization should not have encouraged them to be there. And what they achieved in the end was entirely fraudulent. They did not have a degree that was worth anything whatsoever. Why? Because they didn't understand a word of what we'd been saying. So I agree with her on that.
To back you up, because I've spoken about this in my own experience, yeah, the university system is a fraud system at this point. Yeah. But even Matthew Goodwin, I don't have the clip, but he gets up after she said this and says, as a university lecturer, it would be good if half our universities went extinct.
Yeah. There's a massive overproduction of academic work that just goes unread completely. No one
it's not even about that for him. It's exactly on Harry's point. Vast majority of academic work is now not even the typing of nonsense documents. Sure. It's fraud. We just scam foreigners. We charge them £36,000 or whatever a term, and in return give them a degree they don't deserve.
Absolutely. And it's not just foreigners as well. I mean, I used to get what little hair I have cut at a nice barber's in Grimsby. And a lovely girl there. And one day she was missing, and I was chatting to the owner, and I said, "Oh, where's so-and-so?" So she's left us. I said, "All right, why is that then?" She said, "Oh, well, she's just got her degree in criminology from the University of Grimsby.
Yeah.
And she's now going to go off and be a criminologist." I said, "Oh, really?" She got an offer. She said, "Well, no, but, she's got the degree, and she's now going to go off and catch serial killers, do psychological profiling of serial killers, as you do. And I said, "Look, I'm not being funny, but she's going to be, keep her chair available, because she's going to be back. She's going to be back because nobody's hiring." Nobody's hiring criminologists from Grimsby University with a 2-2 or whatever it is.
My wife
with the first. Yeah.
My wife did basically exactly the same thing, and then afterwards she learned that there's something like a 10-to-1 applicants to vacancy issue with
ratio.
Ratio, because actually searching for serial killers is actually not a growth industry.
It's not.
Weirdly. It's actually really unusual to have serial killers, and actually it doesn't take that many people to track them down.
But back to the last...
But they're a popular thing because of pop culture, and so lots of people go into it thinking, "Oh, I'll do that." It's like, no,
the universities lie, though, because they put big billboards up that say, "Come and sign on here and have your dreams fulfilled. Your dreams will come true if you just join a criminology degree at Grimsby Technology College."
Because we're here for money. This is why I brought up the foreigners.
It's an absolute lie.
The foreigners are the important one because they give us the most money if you're a university. Yeah. That's why I mentioned them. But back to the main point she mentions, which is the overarching speech that she has, the actual position of the Blairite world, which is still in power, even if it's creaking to its death, is that you're useless.
Yeah.
You as an ethnic group cannot even run a bus without us,
sucks.
The 14% who turned up in the last 10 years. I mean, it's just...
They come from countries that don't have the infrastructure we have, come here and build our infrastructure out of the goodness of their hearts, and if they leave, Britain just collapses into dust.
And this continues, because there are some other clips. I mean, this one's hilarious, where she just basically argues that, well, without immigrants, your taxes would be high.
Matt, the day I see you advocate the sort of costs it would take to establish this cultural Britishness, I mean, I agree, and Aaron agrees as well. If you can really produce high quality training, education for everybody in this country so they can fill all those jobs to the absolute best standards, hooray, good on you. But I've yet to see you advocating very high taxes and much greater equality in pay all the way through society. Matt,
I've yet to see you being a communist.
Yeah.
Why
What's a surprise?
Yeah.
But also the implication there, without the high immigration, we would have high taxes.
We have high taxes now.
We have the highest taxes since Zavor. Like we lost the empire.
Excuse me. As a Staffordshire police hate crime champion, I just need to give you a yellow card. A yellow card there.
German accent.
Because that German accent was not acceptable.
I apologize for my country's conduct during Zavor. Are we off now? But this goes on. I mean,
just as a quick thing as well, that is just preposterous. I love the idea that, we can't train British people, but we can train the foreigners. It's like, sorry, are we not? Is there a two-tier system? What's going on? I mean, if our system is good enough to train the foreigners, why isn't it good enough to train the British people?
Because it's set up to hurt us. One of the statistics we found out a while back is the number of dentists, which are paid for by the British state. So we subsidize dentists, the training of them, right? Then they pay us back in loans, but it's a bit subsidized because it's a state system. Now, that's a fixed number. That fixed number has been there since the 2000s.
Yeah.
No matter the increase in the population, we haven't increased the number of dentists we're willing to pay for as a state. So
that explains your waiting times.
There's a massive dereliction of British dentists because we literally don't pay for them. And instead, the government now tells us, well, that's why we're reliant on the foreign ones. No, the reliance was the initial figure not being increased in line with the population. Yep. I mean, this just isn't that difficult.
It's the same with the NHS. About 30% of doctors are foreign born. It's like, okay, but about 25 to 30% of the population are foreign born. So,
Tells you nothing. Yeah.
If the population just wasn't being expanded every year by the Conservative Party, the demand wouldn't be there.
So the other, I won't play this because we don't have the time, but it's a funny one where Matthew Goodwin lists that, well, take this guy who engaged in an acid attack after being denied asylum twice and then was granted it, and then after committing sexual assault and then committed the acid attack. And then he kind of goes on to argue that obviously acid attacks aren't a very Western European thing, but they are quite modern now, especially in the UK. And her response is that we shouldn't make arguments on the case of anecdote. I mean, it's
Is that an anecdote?
it's the per capita meme. Like she's pushing it up. Like she doesn't understand that maybe acid attacks aren't very British.
But even then, okay, this is one example case, which I don't think you would necessarily call an anecdote, because anecdote implies unsupported by evidence. But then we can always just look at the statistics and see, since immigration, acid attacks have gone up.
Weird that. So I'll tell you this last one though, some good news, because you have all four of these people here, and three of them are basically on the same side of this. Practically, Aaron's obviously what he is, but he still is getting the message that it needs to be lower.
Yeah.
Polly is the last defender of this, and she gave a final speech, and the audience is just laughing at her by the end of it.
I mean, the very idea that we might leave the ECHR is so appalling that we would put ourselves into being a pariah state. Haven't we learned our lessons from Brexit? What happens? But the idea that we should continue to break away from old alliances and old agreements seems to me to be grotesque and deeply, deeply mistaken. And if it's just because of immigration, if that's what it was that caused Brexit, well, that didn't work out at all well, did it? And,
What
it
is
was
she
maybe a
saying?
large part of it because so much of the campaign was really about that.
Just someone heckling her at the end there. You might
What I love this. Oh, yes, because the Conservatives didn't do Brexit well, as in you thought Brexit was going to lower immigration, but actually the Conservatives just threw open the borders even wider, then nothing can change in the future. It's like, well, we didn't expect them to actually stab us in the back.
But I think she is just, I hate to be maybe a bit personal, but she is just a perfect visualization of this old world order that is now dying dead on and out of the way. I mean, just this old woman telling you that your eyesight is wrong when she's got bad eyesight herself. Because I just went back and checked out her history. Because this person, I didn't recognize her that much, but I do recognize this image.
Yeah.
Because this used to be one of the stock standard images for the fake Guardian articles that used to be made before it got copyright struck by the Guardian because they were too butthurt. Yeah, so this is her writing in 2024 there. The Tories have sucked the joy out of the education system, blah, blah, blah. But it's not important. What's important is you remember that meme. Because if we go back to her history, she's just been writing nonsense for years. I mean, this is back in 1998.
25 years.
Yeah, she's arguing that the feminists should stand with Bill Clinton. Please ignore what just happened.
Jesus, really?
Yes, it's very strange. And then she spent her time...
Feminists for sex offenders.
She spent her time then whining, this one being the racist poison pill article 23 years ago. This one's funny. She writes here, with great finesse, the minister suggests that foreign doctors, quote, can be fatal. Patients are suffering at their hands, and this is an issue of patient safety. She's saying that minister is a racist person for saying that maybe lowering the standards on doctor will lead to death, which it did, obviously.
Yeah.
20 odd years of that. Thank you for that. 1999, how I learned to stop worrying and love racial awareness training.
Right.
Fantastic.
So she was fully pro-woke before woke was even a thing.
Exactly.
Incredible.
I love this. We regularly defending ourselves against allegations by a conservative government, a hostile Tory press. The BBC was a pinko lefty nest of subversives.
Which it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
how do you defend yourself from that allegation?
Yeah. Well, it is. It is,
It's
isn't it?
obviously true.
Subversives. It is.
But the most revealing aspect of her history, from what I found, is that looking at this, so back in 2005, it was still the land in which the left would argue that mass immigration is a tool of the capitalist class to keep a brother down, which...
But now we need them to pour our Pret.
I'll read her quotes. She says, the Home Office says that a 1% increase in immigration yields up to a 1.5% increase in GDP. Burko and the Labour Party hotly assert that migrants don't take jobs from British workers, nor depress wages. She then writes, but there's no actual evidence for this.
That's true.
Yeah, this is her once upon a time. Migrants add to the profits of the companies and thus the GDP. They keep down the cost of flying for wealthy people enough to fly. They also hold down the pay rate for all other low-paid workers, keeping wage inflation remarkably low and the Bank of England very happy.
Preach, Queen.
Yeah.
So she's basically an out-and-out capitalist, then, is she? Is that
She
what
is
she's
now.
saying? Yeah.
She used to be like an old left there.
Yeah.
Here's her once upon a time, 20 or 5 years ago, whatever, and then now, of course, the Tories will say they're going to stop migrants like students, carers, and nurses. Don't you know? They're all high-skilled people who contribute to society. Lady, what? Really? This all it took?
She used to be correct on this issue.
Yeah, she now argues that those people coming en masse won't depress wages because actually we need them, and without them we can't even drive a bus.
But that really does show you the finesse of the left in this. They're like, yeah, no, we're gonna get you from being opposed to big business to singing their praises and opposing those racists who think that actually maybe there shouldn't be mass competition for wages in Britain. You're gonna come to the position that the entire country will simply collapse if you don't have infinite foreign labor.
So this is also just a perfect example, again, to be kind of personal, but it's so perfect, of a person who went from a position in which you could argue they're like for the masses or whatever to try and save them from their wages, for example, to of the elite. I mean, a lot of people have commented how it's strange going from the Bush years to now, how the left became this utterly elitist rich club instead. And I mean, her personally, I mean, not only in her writing, her private life seems to be incredibly going well. So this is Guido, because I didn't know about her personal life, so I went and looked up Guido, and they say here that she owns 3 homes. So that might have something to do with her liking mass immigration, because it's, punishing up the house prices.
I need the foreign labor to clean my 3 homes.
One of the homes is apparently a villa in Tuscany. Also reporting at the time, this is 2011, she was earning £111,000, which in today's money is £181,000. So yes, becoming incredibly rich does seem to be a real meme that left-wingers will sit there and talk about the masses and their wages until their Patreon goes up a certain amount. And then they'll put on the monocle and be like, I'm for capitalism now. But
You're a racist.
It's just,
This is the Gary Lineker effect, though, isn't it? Absolutely. Gary how much does Gary Lineker?
Millions. 1.7 million from the BBC.
1.7 million for just a few hours' work. Now,
highest.
Does he genuinely think that that his labour is that much more valuable than one of the NHS workers who he so-called champions? Do you think he does think that?
He must. I mean, otherwise he wouldn't accept such a high wage.
In which case, he's an out-and-out extreme capitalist.
Yeah, redistribute some of that wealth to the NHS.
Yeah.
I think.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I don't understand how these super rich earners can align themselves at all with any form of socialism, because they cannot say that their labor is worth 10 times, 20 times, 100 times more than the person who serves them at a shop or who drives the ambulance or works at the NHS.
Well, the secret
they can't do it. Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I absolutely loathe these champagne socialists. Absolutely loathe them, because they don't understand what socialism is, for one thing, or they do understand it and that it's just for the poor people.
Yep.
I think that's more like it. And I can't stand champagne either. So there we go.
this is why I say she's the last progressive, because it was the progressives who brought in the Blairite era. And so what's the end state of the regime? Well, it's a bunch of old rich people sitting around talking about how, well, they've done well, so the plebs should just shut up. And it's like, right, thank you, comrade. Much good.
Hi, folks. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support us, you can go over to lotuseast.com and sign up for £5 a month and go and check out Dan's amazing Brokenomics series. In this particular episode, he's talking about why Bitcoin is back in the bull market. And if you'd like further updates from us, go to Twitter and follow us on lotuseaters_com. Thanks very much.